Hello everybody, welcome back. It is me, Tom Gray, the internet's most determined, malnourished Jason Momoa cosplayer. I only say that because my dad sent me a picture of Jason Momoa and says, "You look like him." I take that as a really good compliment. How are you? Oh, you're gonna join me? You gonna join me on this one again? Okay. How are you? That is good to hear. I am doing well, thank you for asking. Stand-up comedy. The simplest form of entertainment. Give someone a microphone and let them just talk to a room full of middle-aged drunks. There's some young people there too, but it's usually an older crowd that just need an excuse to get out of the house because their fucking bitch wife, Susan, won't leave them alone about doing the dishes. I'm gonna do the dishes whenever I want to do the dishes! Anyways, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to make my next video about until the Twitter gods shone a light and smiled upon me and said, "Here, Tom, take this video. Take this tweet from Jim Brewer. We'll put it on your feed. See what you can do with it."
And everyone that wants to talk to you about facts and science. No, you do the facts. And that's all I see when they talk like that. No, this is real. It's the facts because I researched it. There's like little parakeets just waiting for the news to come on, walking in there. And then the news comes on.
Dr. Fauci's on! Dr. Fauci's on! 2 masks, 3 masks, 3 masks, 2 masks. Vaccine, 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 vaccine. Wear the mask. Numbers are going up. Numbers are going up.
Do I have to say anything? That shit sucked. We can all admit this. And I used to be a decent fan of his. I think his set on the show This Is Not Happening was really funny and relatable. But I saw this, and dude, I fucking hated it. What the fuck was that? A little more insight into who Jim Brewer is. He's a comedian who was also in the movie Half Baked. But right now he's most well known for being the comedian that is refusing, and I mean refusing, to do stand-up shows at venues that require proof of vaccination. Which kind of gives me the same vibe as like those nice guys that you see on the internet where they simp over a girl and then the moment they reject them, they're just like,
"Well, fuck you, bitch, you're ugly anyways, I hate you."
See, I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered at all. I'm fine. Like he was trying to get booked at venues and they were like, "No, we're good. Thank you, Jim. Thanks for asking, though." And he's like, "Well, fuck you guys requiring vaccination. What is this? Communism?" Communism. More like communism. Thank you. But I saw that video and I had a thought pop in my head, and I don't know if any of you guys had the same thought as I did. Is stand-up comedy dying? And before people get mad at me and say that I just hate comedy, I did stand-up for 6 years. I was incredible. People were calling me Jeff Dunham, minus the puppets and the racism. When's the last time you had someone come up to you and say, "Oh, you have to watch this new comedy special. It's so funny"? I mean, I guess you could say that about the Dave Chappelle special, but people weren't really saying that because it was funny. They're either saying that because it was offensive or because they love comedians offending people without making like good jokes. I saw that special, by the way, because I know there's going to be Dave Chappelle fans like, "You didn't even watch the special. You don't get it, man." No, I saw it. It was just an edgy TED Talk. Comedy specials used to be a huge deal. People would talk about them the next day at school or at work. They would be quoting the jokes to each other, still laughing because it had such an impact on them. Now I never hear people talking about specials like that anymore. Like the way I find out a new special has come out is when I'm just scrolling Netflix and then I'm like, oh, Tom Segura put out a new special. I'll watch that in 2 months. And then I'll watch 5 minutes of it and be like, oh, I heard this joke already on 7 different podcasts. And then I just switch it over to rewatching Breaking Bad for the 15th time. And hot take alert, hot take alert. I'm gonna say it.
You know what? I'm about to say it.
Breaking Bad is funnier than most comedy specials that have come out in the last 5 years. I understand that comedy, just like any other art form, is very subjective. What you find funny, other people may not find funny. And what they find funny, you might think sucks dick. I may not laugh out loud at a lot of jokes unless I'm the one telling it because I'm hilarious and charming and good looking. If I say that out loud, will it convince my brain? But I can still tell when a joke is well written, even if I'm not the target audience for said joke. I think one of my major problems with stand-up comedy right now is a little thing called overexposure. I have to piss. Let me piss. 1 second. Sorry. Can you guess how many stand-up comedy specials Netflix has put out since 2013? Maybe 100? 150? Wrong! Netflix has put out over 200 comedy specials, and they only put out 2 in 2013. And that's not counting ones that they have removed from their platform, like, say, serial masturbator Louis C.K. So I did some math, and that averages to about 25 specials a year. If you don't count 2013, the year where they only released 2 specials, it's almost 30 a year. And if we count the number of specials they put out in 2020, it is 37. Out of those 37 specials that came out in 2020, there's only one that I've watched more than once, and that is Quarter Life Crisis by Taylor Tomlinson. It's actually really good. But one special out of 37 is not a good average. You would be out of the MLB if you had a batting average like that. What exactly is special about a special if you have 37 in a year? I'm gonna sound like an old man here, but back in my day, we used to walk in the snow barefoot. We used to die from diseases that are easily preventable now. These kids have it so good. Really, only the biggest names or the most talented comedians got specials. And you notice I separated those two because Dennis Leary exists. They would be the best at the craft and the best at honing in an hour of great material full of laughs. Now it seems like if somebody can just talk into a microphone for 1 hour, Netflix is tripping over themselves to give them a fucking special. And what's funny is that some of the best specials that have come out this year aren't even on Netflix. They're on YouTube for free. But Netflix isn't the only platform that is putting out bad specials. Showtime also puts out comedy specials. They release much less than Netflix, but they're still horrible. You want a comedy special by a former UFC fighter and good friend of Joe Rogan that he babied into the industry, but all his comedian friends are too scared to say that he's bad at comedy, so they just let him keep doing it? Here's You'd Be Surprised by Brendan Schaub. I went into this comedy special expecting it to not be good, but I guess you could say I was surprised because it was even worse than I expected.
Oh shit! What's up, brother? Yes!
Shout out to Napoleon. Thank you for
What
that.
the fuck?
Oh, you're not a fan of UFC? What about a special by revered comedy legend, Rob Gronkowski? The football player? Are you fucking serious, dude? Comedy now almost comes off like a grift. Like, a right-wing celebrity gets canceled on the internet, so now their whole thing is like, oh, cancel culture, what happened to freedom of speech? As they're fucking tweeting it out to their millions of followers. Retired from sports? Stand up. Acted in a comedy show that someone else wrote? Stand up. Oh, you write and direct comedy movies, but you don't actually do stand-up comedy? Here's a microphone and a camera. Netflix needs that footage by the end of the year, baby. How many more times will we have to hear hacky anti-trans jokes by 60-year-old millionaires? Oh, you're sick of those? Well, here's another 60-year-old millionaire, except guess what? In this one, he complains about cancel culture on the largest streaming platform in the world. Truly powerful art is whining about cancel culture while getting paid millions of dollars to do it. How many more times will we have to hear a promiscuous white woman talk about sex for an hour? I know it's easy to shit on Amy Schumer, but boy, it is awful. Oh, she changed her style and now she talks about motherhood and being pregnant? Is it funny? Who cares? Release that shit. People will watch it. Another problem I've noticed is that comedians, for some reason, are taking the same route that Louis C.K. took whenever he was in his heyday, which is release a special every year or every other year. And that's fine if you're Louis C.K. and extremely talented at being a stand-up comedian. I'm not condoning anything he did, by the way. I think he's a piece of shit for doing that. And I haven't watched any of his specials since that happened, but in his heyday, hilarious guy. And his streak of comedy specials in the years 2011 through 2013 are not only impressive by how funny they are, it's also impressive by how little time he had before the release of each one. That's the difference between a guy like Louis C.K. and, let's say, a guy like Bert Kreischer. Bert can be very funny in podcasts. I've laughed at some of his jokes. But releasing a special every other year is obviously leading to a lower quality art form. This has even happened to comedy legends. Take Dave Chappelle, for example. Dave had 2 of the best comedy specials of all time, Killing Them Softly and For What It's Worth. Then between 2017 and 2021, Netflix decided he should release 6 comedy specials. And I don't know how many times he expected us to hear him complain about cancel culture and gay people, but 6 is too many. We get it. You hate cancel culture and you don't understand the LGBTQ community. We get it. And obviously, this isn't just Dave Chappelle. It seems like a lot of comedians have forgotten the most important aspect of stand-up comedy, and it's right there in the name, comedy. And I don't care if you're like an edgelord comedian or a woke scold comedian, just be funny. Hannah Gadsby had a special called Nanette that was released and widely praised by critics for how deep and introspective it was. And I'm not shitting on her for her experiences. I have much respect for everything that she's been through and what she stands for. But I watched it and I just thought, when does this get funny? A light chuckle here or there is not enough to call something a comedy. It's not a horrible thing to watch. It's just not very funny. It's just interesting, I guess. Like, take for instance Bo Burnham. His special Make Happy is one of my favorites. It's got a deep message about mental health and the toll that performing for people day in and day out takes on you. It's thought-provoking, but also it's funny. All of this to say, is stand-up comedy dying? No, obviously not, just with the pure amount of content that is being pushed out there of the form. But it almost feels like we're in a comedic dark ages. You know, where the people at the top have stayed at the top. Even if you haven't done comedy in 20 years, Netflix will still give you a special, Ellen. And it's gonna be bad, Ellen. Oversaturating the market with below average quality specials makes the whole art form look bad. And I'm not saying that stand-up comedy is bad. I'm just saying the majority of the good ones are not on Netflix. A lot of them are on YouTube, Shane Gillis, Joe List. A lot of them don't even have video specials. One of my favorite comedians, Kenny DeForest, represent my hometown. He has a comedy album that's hilarious, and I still listen to it. It's great. There's a lot of good stand-up comedy out there. It's just not being pushed to the mainstream. And I guarantee if you go to a stand-up comedy open mic, and you can power through lazy jokes that involve racism and sexism and homophobia, you'll probably find 1 or 2 comedians that are really funny. I know some people are gonna watch this video and not really listen to what I'm saying. They're just gonna hear me make fun of a comedian they like. You're offended, you know, you just can't handle the truth. No, I like funny. I'm a cis white guy. I don't get offended by jokes, but they have to be funny. One of the big things I learned when I was doing stand-up is for how offensive your joke is, it has to be double as funny. And I think that could apply for the other end of the spectrum as well. That no matter how heartwarming and touching the story is that you're telling in this long format on your Netflix comedy special that just goes on and on and on and on, it has to be funny. I hope I don't sound too whiny or pretentious in this video. I just love comedy. And if I have to sit through one more mediocre Netflix comedy special, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. That's all I wanted to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you agree, that's awesome. If you disagree, that's awesome too. I still love you. It's okay. We can agree to disagree. I hope you have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your year, and, be funny. Bye.